Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take the sources you give us and, well, we dive in, guiding you through to find what really matters. No wading through pages, just the core insights.
And today our source is literary. It's an excerpt called The Last Lesson by Alphonse Daudet.
Right, and this piece, The Last Lesson, it's actually part of a bigger collection. You might know other stories from it, like Lost Spring or maybe Deep Water.
Exactly. They're all quite powerful narratives, and The Last Lesson sits right there among them.
Okay, so context is key here. For The Last Lesson, we need to go back. Think Franco-Prussian War, 1870, 1871.
Yeah, France lost that war to Prussia, and Prussia back then wasn't just Germany, it was bigger parts of Poland, Austria too.
And a major result, France lost territory. Specifically, the districts of Alsace and Lorraine. They became Prussian.
And that's the crucial backdrop. The story zooms right in on what happens next. On the ground, in a school in one of those regions, Alsace or Lorraine. These places felt strongly French, culturally speaking.
So the order to change the language wasn't just administrative, it was deep.
Oh, absolutely. It struck at the heart of their identity.
So our mission, our goal for this deep dive, let's unpack how Daudet shows the immediate fallout of this huge historical event.
Right. What does this story tell us about language and identity?
Yeah.
And that feeling of loss when things change so drastically.
Okay, let's get into it. The story starts with our narrator, this young boy, Franz, and he really does not want to go to school.
No, he doesn't. He says he's in great dread of a scolding. And why? Because his teacher, Hamel, is going to test them on participles.
Participles. And Franz admits he knows basically nothing about them. Zero.
We've all been there, right? That feeling.
Totally. And the temptation to just skip school is huge for him that morning. The weather's amazing. Birds are out.
He sees Prussian soldiers drilling nearby. Daudet really paints that picture, doesn't he? How all that was way more tempting than grammar rules.
It really puts you in his shoes. But here's the thing.
He resists it. He finds the strength to resist, as the text says, and actually heads to school.
That decision, that initial struggle, it kind of sets the tone, doesn't it?
It really does. And then things start getting weird. He passes the town hall.
And there's a crowd around the bulletin board. Now, this isn't just any notice board.
No, for 2 years, that's been the source of all the bad news. Lost battles, the draft, military orders. It's a dreaded spot.
So seeing people there, Franz immediately wonders, what's up now? You can feel the anxiety.
He's almost expecting bad news, conditioned by the last couple of years.
And then the blacksmith, Walter, sees him rushing by. He's there reading the bulletin with his apprentice.
And Walter calls out, tells him not to hurry, that he's got plenty of time.
Which Franz just thinks is them making fun of him for being late. He has no idea.
No idea of the real reason behind Walter's words. He just feels more stressed about being late.
So he finally gets to the school, all out of breath, expecting the usual morning chaos.
But it's completely different.
Yeah, the text makes a big point of this contrast. Usually it's a great bustle, right? Yeah. Desks opening, closing, loud, less.
Kids repeating things together, the teacher's ruler tapping. You could hear it way down the street.
But today, silence. All so still. Like Sunday morning, he says.
Which is the opposite of what he wanted. He was counting on the noise to sneak in late.
But the quiet makes him totally conspicuous. It's the first big clue that something's really wrong. Kind of eerie.
Definitely eerie. He sees his classmates are already there, quiet. And M. Hamel is pacing with his terrible iron ruler.
Imagine walking into that late, silent room, teacher pacing.
He says, you can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. You feel for him.
But then, another surprise. M. Hamel's reaction.
Totally unexpected, no yelling. Instead, he speaks very kindly, tells Franz to get to his seat quickly, says, we were beginning without you.
Just gentle. Which is not the M. Hamel Franz usually experiences.
And it's not just the kindness. Franz notices what M. Hamel is wearing.
Yes. His special clothes. The beautiful green coat, the frilled shirt, the embroidered black silk cap.
Stuff he only wore for inspection days or prize days, really formal occasions.
So that adds to the sense of something significant is happening today, even if Franz doesn't know what yet.
The whole vibe in the classroom feels strange and solemn. But the biggest shock for Franz
is seeing who's sitting at the back. The village people.
Yeah, the back benches, usually empty, are full. Old Hauser with his three-cornered hat, the ex-mayor, the former postmaster, others too.
And they all look sad. Hauser even brought an old primer, like a first reading book, all worn out, and he's got it open on his knees.
Their being there is huge. It's not just about M. Hamel, is it? It shows the whole community feels this moment's weight.
It's like a collective acknowledgement of something important being lost. Their presence, Hauser's old book, it's all symbolic.
A kind of silent respect, maybe, and shared grief.
And then M. Hamel speaks, gets in his chair, uses that same serious, gentle voice.
And makes the announcement, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you."
Wow, imagine hearing that. The reason, an order from Berlin. Only German to be taught in Alsace and Lorraine schools from now on.
New teacher arriving tomorrow. This is your last French lesson, he says. Tells them to pay close attention.
For Franz, those words are like a thunderclap. It just hits him.
Suddenly the crowd at the town hall makes sense. Oh, the wretches, he thinks, realizing that was the news posted there.
And the immediate feeling is just intense regret. My last French lesson. Why, I hardly knew how to write.
He's devastated, thinking about all the time he wasted chasing birds' nests instead of learning his own language.
It's that classic thing, isn't it? You don't appreciate what you have until it's about to be taken away.
Suddenly those books he hated carrying feel like old friends. He can't bear to lose.
It really hits home. Have you ever felt that? Like, oh man, I should have paid more attention.
Definitely. And his view of M. Hamel flips completely too.
Yeah, the thought that his teacher is leaving, that he'll never see him again, it makes him forget all the ruler wrapping and the crankiness.
He sees the teacher differently, understands the 40 years of service.
And he gets it now, the special clothes M. Hamel wore. It was in honor of this last lesson, a tribute.
And the village elders being there, it clicks for Franz. They came to show respect, maybe regret not coming more often themselves.
It's their way of saying thank you to M. Hamel and honoring the country, the culture they're losing.
Such a powerful, poignant scene of shared understanding. Franz's personal regret just mirrors the whole community's feeling.
So while Franz is processing all this,
Yeah.
his name gets called.
Oh, man. Time to recite the rule for Persiples, the very thing he was dreading.
And he desperately wants to do it well now.
Yeah.
Loud and clear, no mistakes.
He can't. He gets mixed up right at the start, just stands there holding his desk, ashamed, can't even look up.
It's just raw vulnerability.
Mm.
But M. Hamel's response is amazing.
No scolding. Not at all. He says very gently, "I won't scold you, little Franz. You must feel bad enough."
And then he broadens it out. Says this habit of putting things off, thinking, I'll learn it tomorrow. It's a common problem there in Alsace.
Yeah, a collective procrastination almost. And then he asks that really pointed question.
How is it? You pretend to be Frenchmen, and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language.
Oof. It's sharp, but then he immediately softens it by sharing the blame. But you are not the worst, poor little Franz. We've all a great deal to reproach ourselves with.
Do you think that's genuine self-blame, or is he also trying to make it easier on the kids at that moment?
Maybe a bit of both. He goes on to blame the parents who sometimes wanted kids working instead of learning.
And then, incredibly honestly, he blames himself too. Admits sending Franz to water his flowers sometimes or giving holidays when he wanted to go fishing.
That honesty really lands. It shows it wasn't just one person's fault, but a mix of things, priorities, societal pressures, even the teacher's own lapses.
After that moment of shared responsibility, M. Hamel turns to the French language itself.
And he speaks about it with such passion, calls it the most beautiful language, the clearest, the most logical.
He urges them, pleads with them to guard it, never forget it.
And delivers that absolutely unforgettable line. When a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison.
Wow. That just powerfully links language directly to freedom, to identity. It's not just about grammar rules anymore, is it?
Not at all. It's about heritage, history, a way of being, all under threat.
So after that really moving speech, M. Hamel actually teaches the grammar lesson.
And Franz is amazed he understands it perfectly. So easy, he thinks.
He figures it's partly M. Hamel being incredibly patient, but also partly himself. He's paying attention like never before.
Yeah, the urgency of the situation focuses everyone. Franz even thinks M. Hamel is trying to pour all his knowledge into them at once before he has to leave.
Then comes the writing lesson. M. Hamel prepared special new copies for everyone.
Beautifully written, with the words France, Alsace, France, Alsace.
Franz says they looked like little flags floating around the room, little symbols of what was being lost.
And the quiet during that writing time. It's intense. Just the sound of pens scratching on paper.
Even the little kids are totally focused, tracing their letters. Nobody gets distracted, not even by beetles flying in. Just complete dedication.
And Franz has this thought. He hears pigeons cooing outside.
and wonders, will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons?
Such a poignant question. It captures the absurdity, the sheer reach of this forced change. Can you even force nature to change its identity?
Meanwhile, M. Hamel is just sitting there, motionless, looking around the room.
Taking it all in, Franz thinks he's trying to fix everything in his mind's eye. 40 years in that same room.
His garden outside, the desks worn down by generations of students. You can feel the weight of that departure.
Franz notes the changes over time, the desks smoother, the trees taller, the hop vine M. Hamel planted now reaching the roof. Leaving all that must have been devastating.
Absolutely heartbreaking. But M. Hamel keeps his composure.
He carries on. There's a history lesson. The little ones chant their letters.
And old Hauser joins in, reading from his primer, his voice trembling with emotion. It shows that shared feeling, that quiet determination.
Then the outside world breaks in. The church clock strikes 12.
The Angelus bell rings. And right then,
The sound of trumpets, the Prussians returning from drill, a sharp reminder of the new reality.
Hamel stands up. Franz sees he's very pale, but he seems taller.
He tries to speak, starts with "my friends," but he just chokes up. The emotion is too much.
He can't get the words out, so instead,
He turns to the blackboard, takes some chalk, and with all his strength, writes as large as he can.
Vive la France! Long live France!
Such a powerful final gesture. Then he just leans against the wall, clearly overwhelmed, and dismisses them without another word, just a wave of his hand.
School is dismissed, you may go. That ending just hits so hard.
Yeah, the contrast between his choked silence and that huge written declaration, it says everything about his feelings, his patriotism, and the depth of the loss.
So wrapping up this deep dive on the last lesson, what are the big takeaways?
Well, first, how incredibly valuable something like language becomes when it's threatened. You really see its preciousness.
Definitely. And the story really shows the pain, the real human pain, of losing that cultural identity.
And maybe most importantly, the need to cherish your own heritage, whatever it is. Don't take it for granted.
It really prompts you to think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What parts of my own identity, my background, do I maybe overlook day to day?
Yeah, it's a strong reminder that these things aren't always permanent fixtures. History, politics, they can change things profoundly.
Exactly. Which brings us to a final thought for everyone listening. Think beyond just nations and languages for a second.
How does the loss of any kind of core expression, maybe it's art, maybe traditions, community practices, how does losing that affect a community? Or even just one person's sense of who they are?
It's a big question. You can probably think of examples from history or even things happening now, something to reflect on long after this story ends.